For me, masculine and feminine energetics are secondary, right? And I'll tell you what they're secondary to in a moment. And we can, and again, masculine and feminine energetics are simply contrasted energetics of how we behave and move our way through the world. So it can be a go and a flow energy, as Michaela Boehm says, or a be and a do energy, or an active and a passive energy. It's just contrast, and we learn very richly through contrast, and they reside within every human being. So it's human qualities first, quote unquote masculine, feminine qualities secondary, because they're essentially just they're not just characteristics. There's more to it than that. There's sexuality that's involved as well. There's self-perception. There's interaction with others. It's more than just characteristics. However, let's just say it's secondary. Often in your case, then the example you just gave about that female entrepreneur that's stuck in that masculine energy, maybe it's that overdoing energy. It's that I'm defining myself by the objectives that I create in my life and then meet in my life. I'm defining myself by completion energy. I'm defining myself by outward material success. I'm defining myself by the more resources I can accumulate. These are masculine qualities, characteristics, energetics, expressions in the world, right? And if your natural state or your dominant state isn't masculine, that can be excessively tiring. And to maintain that is really difficult, and you feel inauthentic. And then the polarity or the sexual relationships, romantic partnerships you're attracting can also sometimes be distorted. But if we keep peeling that back, most of what we call masculine and feminine energetics can be pulled back to childhood wounding that's unresolved, adolescent wounding that's unresolved, right? So an example of that is little girls moving through the world. We'll use the example of a female entrepreneur, right? Little girls moving through the world. She sees, and maybe she's got a couple of siblings, older sister, younger sister, older brother, younger brother, it doesn't matter, right? But she sees that in her family, and she sees in society, right, that the world, you're rewarded when you do good things. Like you perform, right? Like whether it's in sports or academia, like you're rewarded. It's like, oh, well done. You've done so well. I'm so proud of you. And when you're not, there's a disappointment that little child feels in the people that she worships, that she deifies, her parents, right? And so then she says, well, maybe I need to put the mask of competition on. I need to put the mask of achievement on, right? So she puts that mask on. Now she hits adolescence, say, right? And hormonally, she's changing. She's moving into womanhood, the rite of passage into womanhood. The menstrual cycle starts coming on. Biologically, she starts changing. She starts seeing herself through her peers and what other girls are doing, and maybe they're getting attention. But all her focus at the moment is on competition and achievement, right? But they're getting attention sexually, and she's coming into her sexual self. So then she layers a feminine mask on top of the masculine mask, on top of her feminine construct, call it. So now she's trying to navigate her way through the world sexually, through polarity. And doesn't mean sexually just doesn't mean having sex. It means self-worth. It means relationship to the body. It means our relationship to shame and guilt and fear and all of that. So now she's moving into allowing herself to be seen by other boys, other adolescent boys, teenagers, men. Now she's giving her power away. She's retracting it. The relationship doesn't feel completely clean because there's masks there. Now she's maybe losing some power, losing some control. She needs to get control back to feel empowered, to feel safe. So what does she do? She lays another masculine mask on. The masculine mask is more direct, more in the center, controlling, but she's moving away from her feminine energetic, trusting her body, being in her flow, being in her discernment, in her clarity. So now she hits adulthood and she's coming into the world again, right? Now, career-wise, she's gone back to that mask of competition, of achievement, of needing to be powerful in the world, needing to be recognized and seen. So that mask is working really well for her. But her love life, her sex life, call it, the polarity, her intimacy is a better word, better terms to describe that, isn't quite exactly where she'd like it to be. The type of men she's attracting are either hyper passive or hyper aggressive, not necessarily physically abusive, but just dominant. They just want to compete with her. Then she feels she needs to compete, but it's tiring. She can't switch off that masculine mask. So she lays another feminine mask on top. tries it, but it doesn't feel completely authentic because there's all these masks and all this distortion internally. She goes back to the masculine mask because that gives her more control. And so the game continues. You see where I'm going with this, right?
It's exhausting. It sounds exhausting.
Massively, massively.
Yeah, it's so basically you start taking off the masks, right? And I'm sure I know everybody listening is like, I mean, that's a really common thing, right? Why do I keep attracting in these more passive men, or they're always competing with me? You know, it's like two entrepreneurs in the relationship and there's all this competition, and how do we get out of this? And that whole dynamic is going on.
Yeah, but you wanted something tangible. I missed your actual question. Sorry.
Yeah.
You wanted something tangible. So let me, unless you have something else, I'll go there right now and
Please
tie
go
that
there.
loop. Good. I'll tie that bow. So somatic work, in short, somatic therapy. An example of that is breath work. Inner child work that integrates and incorporates, so such as internal family systems, as an example, as an established modality, right? My wife and I, Christine, we have our own inner child curriculum and courses that we've developed, of course, on the shoulders of giants, on institutions such as IFS and other modalities as well, of course. Inner child work combined with somatic work. Breath work is an example of that. So in order to remove the masks, you want to work with someone that you feel safe with, that is a safe structure, has done their own internal work, that can help move these trapped emotions, help move these masks, help you be seen and witnessed with non-judgment and compassion through the body as well. So we're completing loops. In my coaching institute, I have a coaching institute with my wife and two other amazing human beings, Elementum Coaching Institute. And we teach coaches how to not only be better coaches for the clients, but about how to get better clients to themselves. It's a big part of our curriculum. And so part of that is we have a process for dealing and moving trauma. And it's a cyclical process, a 6-step process. And so part of that helps the individual really dislodge and move that trauma through their body. I have my own 6-step cyclical model for moving trauma through the body as well, which is very similar to the one in Elementum. But somatics is so important because ultimately trauma is stuck in our nervous systems physiologically, and our nervous systems get stuck in different timelines, and anything that's familiar in our environment in the present moment that stimulates or symbolizes an iota of what we experienced 10, 20, 30 years ago, the nervous system will say, defense, let's bring this up. Let's better to be safe than sorry. Let's behave in a way that's going to keep us safe. And that could often be pushing people away. It could be having an avoidant attachment style. It could be stonewalling. It could be just, not reaching out, ghosting, whatever it may be. Men get a bad rap for ghosting, right? And ultimately what's underneath the ghosting though is pain and fear like that. And I'm not excusing that behavior, not at all. And there's just some deep pain that's underneath that causes them to do that. Even if they're being malicious, so let's say they're being malicious and there's an element of NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, or another mental disorder, so to speak, personality disorder, that stems from wounding and pain that's unresolved.